So I just hear that Travis Etienne for the Jaguars, he's got Liz Frank injury. It's a foot sprain, being a cast. He's probably out for the season. Maybe comes back later. I watched Jacksonville last night. The offensive line's bad. They don't have, when Brian Flores took over the Dolphins, they had some commodities they could sell. Laramie Tunsil, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Ryan Tannehill. This Jacksonville situation, Coach, looks like a long rebuild to me. You've been in rebuild situations. How do you speed it up if you're Urban Meyer?
Well, obviously, you're not going to be able to go out and recruit 25 players like you could in college. So it's you got to get players. So players win games. That's going to be the key. And Urban knows that. When I was watching that game last night, and to help Trevor Lawrence, they're going to have to sign obviously another running back or two. I mean, running the ball, you're not going to get the big plays as you would out of Etienne that you would somebody else. But my point is, you got to run the ball, even if it's 2 yards a carry, no yards a carry. You're still going to have to stay committed to that running game, because that will help that offensive line that's a little bit undermanned right now, and that'll take a lot of pressure off of Trevor Lawrence. So, I would tell Urban, hey, stick with the run. You're not going to be real happy with it, but it's going to help your football team and particularly your quarterback.
Well, offensive linemen will tell you it's easier to run block than it is to pass block. And so, the offensive linemen love to run the football. That's why Pittsburgh offensive linemen last year were dropping back 50 times a game. That's not what offensive linemen like. Dave, let's go to Chicago, where you're sitting at right now. You know the Bears well. Dalton's going to be the starter. I've been told that Justin, the last 3 weeks, has really played well in practice. The lights come on for Justin Fields in the last 2 or 3 weeks at practice. What are you hearing today, the current situation with Dalton and Fields?
Well, all you're hearing up here is Fields. I mean, this is the wrong place to be and try to get a unbiased opinion on who should play. No, seriously, it's crazy. And, as I watched the game the other day, Justin, and I thought of something, and this is kind of interesting. He gets in there at the end of the half. I'm watching Trevor Lawrence last night, and Trevor Lawrence, I don't know how many 2-minute hurry-up offenses that he has been in where he had to go the length of the field and score and win. The comment was made with Justin Fields when he was at Ohio State that he had very few games, if any, maybe zero, that he had to come back in the fourth quarter and take the length of the field and win the game. So I'm watching these young kids, and the thought came to mind, what is it? It's almost 60, 70% of NFL games are won by a touchdown or less in the fourth quarter. So, it's going to be tough on these young kids, I think, that come out, and particularly Justin Fields, if the Bears are struggling, and Mitch Trubisky, the worst thing that happened to them in that last preseason game, the defense looked bad. Justin was okay. Andy Dalton was okay. But Mitch Trubisky played the best preseason game he's played in his NFL career. Numbers-wise, he really didn't. He tore that defense up.
Yep.
And that compounded everybody's problems right here in Chicago. I mean, now if Mitch can do that, now they're second-guessing. Human nature should, what happened? How can they get Mitch to play like that and we couldn't?
Sure.
So it's not a healthy situation right now going into that first game, to be quite honest with you. There's not a whole lot of confidence right now in the city, and there's a lot of confidence probably in the football team. So they're not going to play in this last preseason game. Justin Fields is going to play a half. I do believe he needs to play every week, and I would not just stick him in, Colin, and say, okay, you got the next 2 series. I would really let him zero in maybe on the red zone package, where he's got some runs and passes, and he knows the situation where he's going to be working. Because the NFL guys don't practice that much anymore, and you can't get enough quality reps with a young kid and just expect to put him in there and let him perform at a high level. So, he's got to play. I would give him a couple little packages and put him in a situation that he's going to be comfortable with and give him a chance to be successful. But he's going to be the guy, and it's just a matter of how quick, because Andy Dalton, we kind of saw what Andy was. He's a great player. It was a great sign for the Bears now. He was the best free agent quarterback, in my opinion, that was available until they drafted Justin Fields.
So it is interesting. Down in Miami, they're playing Tua, and he's playing well. And, listen, I think there's limitations to what he can do. But as you know, you made the playoffs with kind of quarterbacks with limitations. And, I mean, give me your kind of thoughts on what we're going to see from Miami this year with Tua and that offense.
Well, we talk about Brian Flores coming from Bill Belichick, from his tree. And, Bill is a defensive guy. And if Bill had his druthers, he would just as soon run the ball, play defense, and throw play action passes and throw a bunch of screens. I mean, really, that's the winning formula. And I defended it for years. I practiced against it when I was at the Bears and Bill was at Cleveland. We got together 3 years in a row and worked. So that's really what his DNA is. And I think Brian Flores will keep that same DNA with his football team, and that's going to give Tua a chance to keep being successful. I see the same thing with the Jets. I really do. And I think that they're going to protect this kid, and they get it. They understand the importance of running the ball and quick passes and all the things that you got to do, to make the kid be successful. And hopefully it's enough to win the games.
So last year, Cam got COVID and missed some stuff. And then this year, there's a snafu that reportedly, and I thought that was interesting, it leaked out that the Patriots were upset with Cam Newton. And my takeaway is the reason it leaked out is somebody wanted it leaked out, and the Patriots want you to know that it wasn't on them. It was on the player. And they're upset. According to a story, they're not happy with Cam. Is it enough so that Bill Belichick says, I'm done with it, let's go with Mac? Or do you think Cam, who's worked very hard here now for over a year, do you think Cam's still the starter today in New England?
I do. I do, and this goes back to Bill Parcells, and that's where I heard it from. And Bill Belichick, it kind of insinuated this story yesterday. I think I was here. He said every veteran, and I did this. I had this discussion when I was coaching the Dolphins with Joy's brother, Jason Taylor. And the thinking is this, that every player during training camp, whatever your top level of performance might be, some guys it's Pro Bowl level. Some guys it's just a solid player. Whatever that level is, as a coach, I want to see that you get to that point. Every year you have to go back and get to that point. Once I see you playing at that level, then I feel good about saying he's ready to play. And I remember having that with Jason, and about 4 days into it, he was doing things that he did better than a year ago. So I started resting him and not doing much. And the players were saying, Coach, I said, hey, he's playing at that level. I think the situation in New England and what Belichick was talking about, Cam is playing at a higher level right now. And Mac's if he outperforms him, then he'll be the starter. But he's not going to be the starter just because of what Cam did last year or because we drafted this kid in the first round. I think Belichick has it on a little different perspective than what some of these other organizations do. And I think that he's going just right by the film. And if he gets beat out in practice and the guy starts making better decisions and completing more passes, then he'll play. Otherwise, Bill is not going to give in to what the fans are saying and the media is saying.
Yep. Dave Wannstedt, Fox Sports NFL analyst, Bears Dolphins head coach. We're getting close, Coach. I'll see you Friday night in Chicago at dinner. We'll see you then.
Sounds good.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.